Hello guys, welcome to this React tutorial for beginners. In this video we are going to create a React component using TypeScript. What I have here is a JavaScript based React application. What we're going to do is to create an equivalence of this using TypeScript. This video is not going to teach you everything you need to know about working with React and TypeScript, but at least we are going to learn like one or two things. Why this might be important is that nowadays most React projects are built using TypeScript, not JavaScript, at least from my own experience. So what is this project doing? It's actually not doing much. Basically we have only one component, this post.jsx, which is a JavaScript React component. You can name this with .jsx or .js, right? Here I'm going to take a post prop and I'm going to display the post title and the body. That's just about it. Then over here we are going to fetch the post from this API URL, just in placeholder, free API URL you can play with. So we're going to fetch the data and just set post using the state. This is our post, this is set post. I'm making use of the use state hook. And over here we display those posts using the post component that we have created here. It is that straightforward. Now let's see how we can implement something similar in TypeScript, but our focus is going to be on this post. It looks so straightforward, but let's see what we can learn from trying to replicate this in TypeScript. For the TypeScript component, I have this another React project that was created using for TypeScript specifically, right? You can see here we have app.tsx instead of .jsx. For the JavaScript project we have app.jsx. So the .js or .jsx is when we are using JavaScript, but .ts or .tsx is when the component is being built out with TypeScript. What I'm going to do before we write the component is to start the two applications. So we see what we have right now. I'm going to start the JavaScript at localhost 3000. Right now it's not showing anything. And then I'm going to start the TypeScript project at localhost 4000 by setting the port over there. So the two projects are not really showing anything. Let me stop the server and go to the code. This time I'm heading over to the TypeScript file project. Alright, so I have this components folder. What I want to do is to create the post.tsx component inside the components folder. Here I'm going to add a file, post.tsx, for our TypeScript file, and hit enter. Let me minimize this. So what I want to do is to export a function, const export const post to be this. For now I'm just going to return nothing. Now let's take another look at our JavaScript component, this .jsx component. This is the content we want to render on the front end, on the UI, right? Why not just copy everything from the JavaScript file and head over to TypeScript file, remove all this and paste it. You notice that the moment we do that, we get this warning, which we do not have in the JavaScript file. That is because TypeScript does type checking for us. It checks, it wants to know the type of data that is being passed around. For example, we have props. What kind of data is props? To make this error go away, there's a dirty solution, which is to come here and say any type. We don't care about the type, but this is bad practice. It is bad practice to use any when working with TypeScript, so try to avoid it as much as possible, because when you use any, you are not going to leverage that type checking capability of TypeScript, right? It means that even you can try to access something that doesn't exist in props. For example, you can say prop dot whatever. Let me put a dot here, and TypeScript will not complain because it does not even know whether props has this kind of property. That is why we cannot work with any. Instead, we are going to be explicit about the type of data props is. How do we do that? Let me come up here and define the type of data for props. I'm going to say type props. You can call this anything, right? But it makes sense. Let me call it props. Type props to be equal to this. So this is going to be post. It's going to have post at least inside the props. We're going to have post. So let me say post, but we still need to specify what are the properties of post. So a dirty work once again will be to say any, which is wrong. We need to be explicit about the type of information post holds. To do that, let me come up here. I'm going to refactor the code later, but let me come up here and say type post to be equal to empty for now. I'm going to replace this any with type post. All right. So, and then I'm going to take the props and specify the type as our type for props. Once again, you can name this anything, right? But it makes sense to call it props. So now we have type checking applied to our props. That is one. Secondly, you notice that we get an error here that we didn't get before. It is saying that, okay, I know the type of information that post holds because we defined it here. And there's nothing like title or body in posts. So let's specify the properties that the post have. Before that, let's take a look at the API that I'm making use of, that I'm consuming in this example. JSON placeholder API. This is what post holds: user ID, title, and body. Let me just copy this quickly. So I'm going to come over here and specify that post is going to have a property user ID, which is of type number, and then ID, which is of type number, and title, which is of type string. Let me format this. And finally body, that is of type string. String. Now we have given detailed information about the props. At this point, TypeScript knows that, okay, this is the type for the props, and inside it we have a post. But what type is the post? This is the type, the post. And then TypeScript to the rescue one more time. You can see that here I have a typo that can result to a bug if not detected. In our JavaScript code, there's no such warning or error because there's no type checking done in the JavaScript code. This place is supposed to be title, but I have a typo in the spelling. So with the help of TypeScript, we can detect such silly bugs even while writing the code so they don't get to production. Okay, I'm going to come back to this file. At this point, let's test out the post component. First, I will head over to the JavaScript code and complete what I have here. I will go to app.jsx. Over here, we are fetching the post. We set the post, and down here, we want to display the post. Right now, the post is not showing because I did not call this function getPost. So I will go ahead and start the server for the JavaScript app. Start the application. It shows this, and then I'm going to call getPost here so that the post will be shown on the page. Now we have the post body. The reason we are not getting the title is because of the bug that TypeScript detected in the TypeScript component, which means that here is supposed to be title, right? I will save that, and now we get the title for our JavaScript. All right, let me copy exactly what I have inside this use effect. I will copy from here, from this use state to use effect, copy that over to our TypeScript app.tsx. So I'm going to remove this guy, paste what I copied here, no issues. Then for listing out the post, I'm also going to copy exactly what I have in the JavaScript component, copy that over to the TypeScript component and paste, and make sure to import the component. I've imported the component. Down here we get this error, ID does not exist. The reason we are getting the error is because we said that post is going to be an array, but array of what? We did not specify. So what we can do is to come here and say that it's going to be array of post, but that post, not capital P, that post does not refer to the component post. It should refer to this post that we have here. So this is not going to work the way it is. There are different ways we can solve this problem. For example, I can come here and say that this should be called post component, and then I'll come down here and say this is post component. This is for the TSX component, right? Our React component. Then this other post should refer to the post type defined here. But to reuse this post type defined here, we need to export it. Export type post. Or let's just move this to a different file instead of leaving it inside this component. So over here, I'm going to create a file. Let me create a folder called, I can call it anything. Let me call it interface. Here I want to have post.ts, and this is going to export this type. This way we can easily import it in different files. First, I will go to post component, the tsx file, the post component, and we go ahead and import the post from the interface. Secondly, this will conflict with the name we have given the component here. The component we call post. So let's give this a different name as post type. So I'll come here and say post type. Then over in app.tsx, I'm going to change this to post, which is going to be imported from the interface folder. All right, at this point now, the error goes away because TypeScript knows that, okay, we are making use of this post and it has a property ID. So let's go ahead and run the two projects. Once again, I will start the JavaScript and then the TypeScript. I'll wait for that to start. So you can see that we get the same exact output using both TypeScript and JavaScript. But the key takeaway here is that TypeScript will help us with type checking. This way we can catch some silly minor errors due to typos, due to trying to access a property that doesn't exist in something, in an object, etc. Alright guys, this brings us to the end of this lesson. I hope you learned one or two things about how to work with TypeScript in React. Until next time, happy coding.